U.S. President Donald Trump is threatening 100% tariffs on Canadian goods if the federal government goes through with a new trade deal with China.
If you can get a deal with China, you should do that.
Another 100% tariff on Canadians. At this point, it is not an exaggeration to say Mark Carney is behaving traitorously.
What if I told you that one single trade deal could spark a fight between the United States, Canada, and China, and possibly shake the global economy? Today's video is not just about tariffs or boring trade laws. This is a story about power, ego, and how one decision in Ottawa or Washington could impact your job, your groceries, and even the price of your next car. So if you think trade war sounds like something far away from your life, stick around. By the end of this video, you might feel very differently. Before we jump into the drama, let me quickly catch you up, especially if you're not into politics or economics. The US and Canada aren't just neighbors. They are business partners on steroids, billions of dollars moving across the border every single day. Canadian oil, lumber, cars, and food going south. American tech, machines, and services going north. Now enter China. Canada starts exploring a deeper trade deal with China. More electric cars, more agriculture, more access both ways. And here's where it gets interesting for you as a viewer. Whenever big countries change how they trade, it doesn't just affect governments. It hits real people, workers, prices, and opportunities. So, the US president sees Canada moving closer to China and basically says, if Canada makes a deal with China, we'll hit every Canadian product coming into the US with a 100% tariff.
If you can get a deal with China, you should do that.
Let me translate that for you in normal language. Imagine your favorite Canadian product: cars, maple syrup, timber, whatever. Now imagine the price doubling overnight because of taxes at the border. He also suggests Canada could become a drop-off port, like a side door for Chinese goods to sneak into the US. For you, this means, if you're in North America, you could see higher prices. If you work in export, shipping, manufacturing, or farming, these decisions can affect your job security. Even if you're just someone who watches the news casually, this shapes the world you live in. And here's the twist that makes this story engaging. Not long before this, Trump was actually okay with the idea of Canada making a deal with China. So the question becomes, what changed? Is this about economics or about power, pride, and politics? On the other side, we have Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. He goes to the World Economic Forum, basically a big meeting of global power players, and sends a very clear message. Middle power countries, like Canada, and maybe like your country, can't just be bullied by superpowers forever. He basically says, if you're not sitting at the table, you're on the menu.
As the natural logic of international relations reasserting itself.
Now, think of this from your perspective. If you live in a country that isn't a superpower, you know this feeling. Bigger countries push, threaten, and use trade, visas, or sanctions as tools. Carney calls out how big powers are using tariffs as weapons, supply chains as pressure points. And of course, that doesn't go down well with the US. Trump hits back with comments like, Canada lives because of the United States.
But I tell you, it's what we're doing is so good, and we deserve it. You know, we help other countries with it. We don't have it ourselves.
He starts calling Carney governor, like Canada is just another US state.
Why don't you just join our country, become the 51st state?
That's not just policy. That's pride. And pride is exactly what makes stories like this addictive for audiences. Let's talk about you again. If you're a small business owner, someone working in logistics, trucking, retail, farming, or factories, this is not just top-level politics. For Canadians, if tariffs go up, Canadian products become more expensive in the US. That can mean fewer orders, less production, and real job cuts. Workers in steel, autos, agriculture, and energy could be directly hit. For Americans, Canadian imports are part of many US supply chains. Tariffs can turn into higher prices in stores, more expensive construction materials, and higher costs for businesses. Some American companies that sell to Canadians could also suffer if Canada retaliates or its economy slows down. And for everyone else watching from outside North America, this is a live example of how trade wars between powerful countries can shake the whole system. Currencies, stock markets, and even global growth forecasts react to fights like this. So no, it's not just a Canada-US thing. This is a preview of the kind of world you're going to live and work in. Now you might be thinking, can a president just wake up and say 100% tariffs for everyone? It's not that simple. There are trade agreements like USMCA/CUSMA that set rules. There are courts that question how far a president can go using emergency powers to mess with trade. Inside the US, judges, lawyers, and politicians are arguing about how much power one person should have over trade, and whether these tariff threats cross the legal line. Investors even joke with a nickname, Taco. Trump always chickens out, implying he makes big threats, but sometimes backs down later. From a viewer perspective, that adds suspense. Is this going to be another dramatic threat that fades away? Or will this one actually land and change the rules? Here's the part most headlines don't fully explain. China is the quiet third player driving all of this. China is signing deals, building infrastructure, and offering markets to countries across the world. When a close US partner like Canada starts warming up to China, it sends a loud signal. We don't want to depend on just one superpower. For the US, that's not just about money, it's about influence. If more countries feel safe doing big deals with China, US leverage shrinks. So the tariff threat is not just, Canada, don't do this. It's also, world, think twice before you get too cozy with China. If you're watching this from a country that's also caught between big powers, maybe between the US, China, Europe, or Russia, this might feel very familiar. Now I want to bring this story back to you. Imagine you're in Carney's position for a second. Your country can benefit from a big deal with China, but your most powerful neighbor is threatening you with massive tariffs if you move forward. What would you do? Take the risk and sign the deal anyway? Or back down to avoid economic damage in the short term? And if you're in the US, ask yourself, do you support using tariffs and pressure to keep allies in line? Or do you think this kind of approach pushes countries away in the long run? If you like content where we don't just read the headline, but actually break down what it means for you, then hit the like button so this video reaches more people. Subscribe if you want more global drama explained in normal language. And most importantly, drop your opinion in the comments. Should Canada go ahead with the China deal? Or should it back off because of US pressure? I'll be reading the comments and I might feature the smartest takes in a future video, so make it good.